Okay, meet Candyce. Now there are currently 4 mistakes that are happening with Candyce's hair that, well, are causing her to look a little bit older. So I'm gonna walk you through exactly what those mistakes are, and much more importantly, how she can modify those mistakes so she can get a more youthful look. And this is gonna be a fun episode. So if you're not new to the series, if you've been around a while, woo, you're gonna like this. Yep. Okay, if you are new to the channel, in just a second I'm going to explain exactly what this series and this video is all about. But if you're a veteran, why don't you go ahead and comment below and let me know if you can decide on the 4 different mistakes that I'm seeing with Candyce's hair, and then we can talk about that. But if you are new, my name is Justin Hickox, and well, I prefer to take you on adventures while I teach you about hair. Basically all it means is I don't like sitting in a salon and you get a better backdrop. There you go. But in this series, I actually have subscribers that send me in photos asking the question, what mistakes am I making with my hair, and how can I get a more youthful look? And well, that's exactly what I do. Share those mistakes, share what suggestions I have, and then at the very end of the video, I usually show some curveballs, some different styles or colors that they could do that I think will look great. It'll be something out of left field, if you will. But in today's video, I told you this is a good one. And I will tell you now, if you like curveballs, whoa, I have a lot of them. In just a second, I'll explain, but there's a lot of them. So let's get to mistakes. Okay, now before we dive into these mistakes, let's first read the email that Candyce sent with her submission so you can get a better idea of exactly where my suggestions are coming from. The email reads, "Thank you for providing such amazing information. I love your channel. I'm 51. Okay, first of all, Candyce, you're not 51. Sorry, you are clearly 32. But no, as you can see with the email, there wasn't a lot of information, which is both good and bad. It's bad because I do like to have information to understand more about the client, to really give an idea of where they want to go and what they're struggling with. But it's good for you because it opened me way up, like way up. And when we dive into the curveballs, you're going to see exactly how much it opened me up to my suggestions, maybe a little bit too much. But anyway, with that said, I did do a little bit of digging because I think it's important to get some baseline information. And so I did notice this at the bottom of Candyce's email. Now, when we go through the curveballs, I'm going to explain exactly what impact this one little piece of information had on me. Okay, so let's dive into mistakes. Okay, now, as I said, this is going to be a little bit of a different video. I really wanted to dive into some curveballs. We're going to play this a little different than we normally would. I'm going to show you the mistakes after we talk about them. I'm going to show you what they would all collectively look like on Candyce if she just went for all of it. And then we're going to break into a handful of different curveballs. And then what I want you to do is share exactly which one in the comments below that you like the most. Whatever one you guys like the most, I'm going to see if I can actually talk Candyce into doing it. I don't know. Should we try? I think we should try. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about the mistakes. Mistake number 1 is that the length is just a little bit too long. Now, if you've been around this channel for any amount of time, you know that I'm not against long hair at all, and I'm not saying that everybody has to have short hair. What I'm saying is that for Candyce, this particular length is pulling her overall shape down. It's drawing the eye down, and it's not allowing us enough shape internally through layering to really get the volume in the areas necessary. At this particular length, since layers should balance with the particular length that the hair is, it would mean that the layers would need to be too long and still end up being heavy even if it was layered enough. Now, mistake number 2 is kind of not necessarily the lack of bangs, but just the lack of softness around the bang area. Now, I'm not saying that Candyce needs to wear bangs, but what I am saying is that some lightness around the bang area, maybe some shorter layers that connect about where bangs would typically hit, would go a long way to start accentuating more of Candyce's cheek structure. Now, Candyce has very good bone structure. She's a beautiful woman, but accentuating that cheek structure would go a long way to lifting the eye and giving Candyce a more youthful look. Now, mistake number 3 is just kind of the lack of layering in the front at all. Really, there's just not enough movement or texture in the front, and you can see that by looking at the amount of weight and bulk in this area. And that's actually dragging the eye down, but overall dragging the shape down, and just not giving enough movement or texture to the shape in general. Now, mistake number 4 is kind of a combination of the last 2 mistakes, and that's simply that there just isn't enough layering in general, not enough layering internally as well as in the front. Now, the biggest concern with this is that, again, this is weighing the hair down and overall weighing the shape down. If we were to add a little bit more layering and texture to this overall shape, not only would the overall volume and shape look better, but also the color would actually look like it had more dimension. Now, it's not that the color is broken, but what it looks like here is that highlights have been done over and over and over and over. And what happens in that situation is while the roots still maintain a little bit of depth, the ends end up looking lighter and lighter and lighter. And what I mean by that is they actually end up looking more washed out, so that it looks like there's less dimension. More often than not, the best practice is that after every couple of times you go in to get your highlights retouched at the roots, that third time or that fourth time, you end up adding in some of your natural color as lowlights to kind of break up that shape so that this doesn't end up happening and start to get too light overall. So I think adding a little bit more dimension back into her color would go a long way to giving the overall shape a lot more movement and texture, but also I think it would add a little bit more richness to Candice's skin tone. Okay, so now that we know exactly what those mistakes are, why don't we just go ahead and jump into the suggestions where I actually show you exactly what it would look like if Candice took my advice and made those changes. Okay, well, I guess you do get to see me in the salon, because when I got home to edit this video, I recognized that this part of the video actually didn't have any sound. And so rather than make you sit at home and try to read lips, figured, well, I'll just refilm it. And I happen to be here today, so this is where you get it from. Okay, so as I said before, we're gonna walk through all of the mistakes, all collectively at once, to see what it would look like if Candice took my suggestion. And so if we did actually bring the length up a little bit, layer it in the front, have some pieces that were shorter, closer to bang-ish length, as well as layer it more internally, and kind of give the hair a little bit more dimension within the color, this is what that would look like. Now, as you can see, I really like this overall look on Candice. I do think it gives the hair a lot more movement, but most importantly, I think it goes a long way to start to accentuate aspects of Candice's face shape that we can accentuate. Stuff like, again, cheek structure, bone structure in general, lifting the eye up, all of those things that have a tendency to give people a more youthful look. But more importantly, I also like the versatility that this gives. You still, because of the layering and because of the lack of bulk now, you still have a lot of opportunity with styling it maybe wavy or straight, or even if you decided to put it up into a bun, you'd still be able to have some softness that came down that gave it kind of a point of interest. There's just a lot of different things you can do with this shape. So I think it would be a fantastic shape for her to move into. But with that said, we have so many more shapes for you to look at. So let's pop back into the video and let's see some curveballs. Okay, now, as I told you, I've got a lot of curveballs here. I actually have 4 completely different curveballs that I personally think would look amazing on Candice. But, as I told you before, I want to know what you think. So, we're going to number these 1 through 4, and then, as I said, after this is over, I want you to go ahead and comment below and let me know what number you think looks best. Then we're going to figure out which one the most of you voted for, and I'm going to try to see if I can talk Candice into actually doing it. Let's do this. Now, when I saw this, it told me a couple of things. First of all, it told me that she's creative. Right? You don't become a writer and you're not an actress unless you have some sort of creative backbone in you. But it also told me, from an actress perspective, that you have to be mildly cautious about how much you change because your image is very important to when you get roles. So I wanted to start with an idea that would be a little bit out of the ordinary, definitely a shift, but I don't think so far that it would really change Candice's brand. So this is my first idea. Okay, now as you can see, clearly we're not dealing with a massively different length. In fact, this is about the length and the overall shape that I made in my suggestions, right? This is a layered mid-length look that has some shorter pieces in the front. It's basically exactly what I suggested as the quote-unquote mistakes that were happening with her current shape. The big difference here is obviously the darker tone, which, if I'm honest, I freaking love for you, Candice. I love it. Now, I get it. It is a huge shift, but I really think this brings out a lot of richness in your skin, and it really makes your eyes and your features just pop, as dark hair can do. I also love that the waves really give the overall shape a lot more dimension. As I said before, there's still the versatility. You'd still be able to dry it straight, and it would look very similar to our first photo, just quite a bit darker. But I also, as I said before, recognize that it might be a little too dramatic. I'm gonna tell you now, this is not the most dramatic curveball I've got, so if this is dramatic, we're in for some trouble. Okay, curveball number 2. Now in this one, I wanted to go a little bit more dramatic, but at the same time, not go completely wild. This is actually almost more similar to what she has now than the last one. which you're gonna think I'm crazy when you see, well, this. Okay, I know it looks completely different than what she's got now, but it's not all that different. It's that the length is up and it's more of a bob shape. It still incorporates a lot of layering. Yes, it's obviously quite dark, but aside from the color, the shape in many ways is kind of a shorter version of what she currently has if we just layered it up a little bit more and kind of brought it into a little bit more strength at the baseline. But it's not a whole lot different aside from the length. So while this does seem dramatic, it actually isn't, I don't think, as dramatic as it might look. Now, I do love this shape because it is still a bob shape, but it gives a lot of versatility. You know that I'm a huge fan of bobs, and I'm mainly a fan of them because they don't offer a ton of versatility within the way you style them, but they do offer a ton of versatility in the way you look. Meaning that if you want to look funky or edgy, you simply dress funky or edgy, and the bob still makes sense. Same thing goes for more classic, more conservative, or more polished. The bob is still going to make sense. You don't have to change that shape. You get those different looks. And that's part of the reason that it led me to this idea for Candyce. Because she is an actress, this could still give her a lot of opportunity within the different roles because the hair doesn't have to speak to who she is. I hope that makes sense. But, as I said, we have more dramatic looks coming up. So let's dive into curveball number 3. This next one is going to be quite different. We're going to go back to the light color. We're going to bring things back a little bit. But we're going to switch up the shape completely. So, this is number 3. Okay, now do me a favor and ignore the color on this. I recognize it as absolutely horrific. I don't know what happened. Something happened. It was weird when I brought that photo into Photoshop to try to actually put the style on Candyce, and I couldn't get this stupid blue tone out of her hair on this side. So just the other side, this side right here, that's closer to what I'm talking about. So yes, forgive me. But the shape, the style looked too good. I couldn't pass it up. So I wanted to show you anyway. I love this movement on Candyce. I love the texture and the shape overall. Really does a great job of accentuating her cheekbones and her overall face structure. I do like this color because it still has a bit more dimension, but one of the things that I love is the overall texture, the kickiness, the messiness of this look. I think if Candyce were going to head into a shape at roughly this length, this would be the way that I would approach it because it has a lot more spunk and fun to the overall feel. This is what kind of keeps it on a little bit more of a youthful edge to me and doesn't look overly contrived. So I personally am a really big fan of this. And yes, her hair texture could do it. And also it is a lot shorter. I get that. But you're blonde again, Candyce, so at least I haven't totally shocked you there, right? Okay, and number 4, folks, this is definitely the most dramatic. All around, here comes the drama. You ready for the drama? Oof. That view doesn't suck. Drama. Okay, number 4, I went all in. I said, let's do this. Let's really show Candyce something different. Show you something different. And here it is. Okay, I am fully aware this is quite short. This is a game changer. This potentially could be, for better or worse, a career changer. I don't know how this goes when we get into the overall actress portion of Candyce's life. But I do know that this overall shape looks awesome on her. She wears it exceptionally well. What I really like about this, aside from the color, is the fact that it's got multiple different ways that you can actually style it. As you can see from this front shot, it's styled back up off of the face and kind of a little bit more of a faux hawkish kind of feel. And to me, it really just kind of screams kind of edgy fun without going too far. But then if we switch over to this profile look, you can see that you can also wear it down and get a very different, a little bit more contrived feel to it, which also I think would look fantastic. So although it is quite short, in actuality, it probably has one of the most versatile aspects in terms of the way you style it to any of the shapes that we have here, except for the very first curveball. Now, as far as the color goes, again, I'm really leaning towards the dark for you, Candyce, and it's not because blonde doesn't look good. The blonde looks great, and I would assume that there's probably a level of you that kind of identifies to that blonde because maybe you've been blonde for a while. But I think that these dark tones do such a great job of really bringing out your skin tone, and I really think that not everybody can wear blonde and dark, but I think you definitely could. And I think this brown might be a good move for you, especially heading into the winter season when people tend to kind of go dark anyway. It wouldn't look out of place. So those, folks, are 4 different options that I think would look amazing on Candyce. But here, as I said before, is the key. I want you to go downstairs to the description, and I want you to type in and let me know which one you love. And then, like I said, let me see if I can get Candyce to actually do it. So, if we get enough comments, maybe there'll be enough peer support, she actually decides to go for it. So comment below and let me know. But for now, I'm gonna enjoy that view, because look at this. Look at this. Are you kidding me? Look at that. Doesn't suck. Let's be honest. That is amazing, folks. Okay, I'm gonna try not to fall over in the snow. But okay, guys, thank you for hanging out. Wow, that's beautiful.